Greetings, Grand Rising. I ask the Almighty Yahweh Himself to be with me as I deliver and prepare this particular message. I also ask that the Almighty send the necessary, beautiful, bright, protective guardian angels to rest upon this particular message. You guys, I was guided to actually come share a message for a specific young lady. I don't know who she is, but I am guided to make sure that I was told she looks at this particular page. And I also was told that this page is only available to a select few. So maybe she's one of the ones, and I'm praying that the Almighty utilizes me so that she knows that the Almighty is actually hearing her cries. You guys, I was given John 11:38 through 44. I am in the Bible Gateway, so let's talk about Lazarus rises. Please, phone, don't die on me. Okay, I got enough juice. Okay, awesome. All right. I'm ready, Daddy. Gratitude. Jesus was still angry as he arrived at the tomb, a cave with a stone rolling across its entrance. Roll the stone aside, Jesus told them. But Martha, the dead man's sister, protested. Lord, he has been dead for 4 days. The smell will be terrible. Jesus responded, Didn't I tell you that you would see God's glory if you believe? So they rolled the stone aside. Then Jesus looked up to heaven and said, Father, thank you for hearing me. You always hear me, but I said it out loud for the sake of all these people standing here, so that they will believe you sent me. Then Jesus shouted, Lazarus, come out. And the dead man came out. His hands and feet were bound in grave's clothes, his face wrapped in a headcloth. Jesus told them, Unwrap him and let him go. All right, you guys, let's go on an emotional roller coaster, if you will, okay? The reason why I was guided to actually put this particular one together was because I don't know who this young lady is, but she has been literally crying to the Almighty all night. I heard her. She came to me and I comforted her to the best of my human ability in the spirit. Although I'm not human, I can hear what she's thinking. I can tell that she was cold in her spirit, and she was doing everything she can to hold on to God and what she knows to be God, and he heard her cry, you guys. Okay. All right, you guys, let's go through the emotional things. Let's pay attention to the way the energy shift in this particular section of scriptures. Jesus was still angry as he arrived at the tomb. Why was Jesus angry, you guys? Why was he angry? Does anyone know why Jesus was angry? According to the Almighty, Jesus was angry because his best friend, his friend he knew for years, had literally fallen asleep. And the way that Lazarus was laying there, and people had literally counted his vessel and rendered it useless. So he was angry, you guys. He was angry because when people count you out, the Almighty renews you in such a beautiful way, you guys, that when he says, I deem that vessel worthy for me to utilize, and no one can affect it. Doesn't mean that we're not going to go through trials, tribulations, bruises, lashes, lacerations, and things of that nature. It just means that the Almighty is going to utilize that particular vessel for his purposes. And you guys, that is so beautiful. But let's go with the emotions. I'm trying to get my thoughts here together, my emotions in check, so that I can actually deliver this according to the Almighty and not according to me. Jesus was still angry as he arrived at the tomb, a cave with a stone rolled across its entrance. Do you guys realize that that cave was really large, and that tomb took about 4 to 5 men to roll that stone away from the entrance of the door? Roll the stone aside, Jesus told them. So he set it in a masculine alpha voice, roll the stone aside. Because he was mad. Think about that. He was mad. But Martha, the dead man's sister, protested, Lord, he has been dead for 4 days. The smell will be terrible. Jesus responded, didn't I tell you that you would see God's glory if you believe? He gave a stern command, but it was in a question format. Didn't I tell you that you would see God's glory if you believe? So they rolled the stone aside. These men were following commands, and they were rolling it as instructed, okay? Then Jesus looked up to heaven and said, Father, thank you for hearing me. Daddy hears each one of us, you guys. When we are at our lowest point, where it seems like no one and nobody is there, that complete stranger that comes by that you're looking at may potentially be Daddy. He sometimes come and just test each one. Prime example, when I was actually brought to the territory in which I was guided by the Holy Spirit, Archangel Michael, to come here. When I got to this territory, I was actually running for my life from the territory in which I was in, because I had been poisoned, I had been assaulted, I had been stripped of just about everything physical that you could strip a person of. Although my life behind was still boisterous and lively, my physical vessel was failing due to the sickness and the poison things that was given to me through my water, through my food, through the air that I was breathing, and I had just got downright sick. So I was literally frail. I was not the size I am today. I was not looking vibrant. I actually looked like I was on some major drugs, which I had some substance, some foreign substance in my body, but it was not, had I not held on to my faith to the Almighty and that He would pull this vessel through, I could have transitioned. Because there were days I felt like I was just not going to make it. So I understand the cry, and I understand the position the young lady is in, whoever she is. I know she's on the American soil because I can feel her. So I said all of that to say that when the Almighty responds and He sends you a helper, sometimes it may be Him in the flesh of either a man, a woman, and or a child. And the reason why it's stated that way is because the Almighty, you guys have no idea how He wants to coddle each one of us. If we just humble ourselves and come to Him, call upon Him, you have no idea the mountains He can move. Because He says faith of a mustard seed can move mountains. And yes, it does. Jesus responded, didn't I tell you that you would see God's glory if you believe? So they rolled the stone aside. Then Jesus looked up to heaven and said, Father, thank you for hearing me. You always hear me. So He has built that relationship, and He actually has held on to the Almighty the entire time. A lot of people get confused because in John 1:1 it speaks about God being the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was a God. They get confused because they don't understand that the Almighty, the way that they put the biblical text together, the Almighty has literally bounced around in the spirit on these scriptures to prove that He is the greatest magician anyone could ever come to know. And it all depends on how you understand the Almighty and where you glean your information from and how firm you hold on to your faith. Do not let anyone knock your faith, however you come across the Almighty. Don't let someone else's opinion interfere with the way that you observe the Almighty and how He moves in your beautiful world. Don't do that. Don't doubt yourself. Don't become a doubting Thomas. Hang on to your faith to the Almighty, because I'm telling you, you guys, here in 2025, today is August 21st, 2025, it's so important. This is His reaping season and His harvest season. The workers are few, but the harvest is great. There's so many people that are walking away from the Almighty, you guys. This makes me really sad and emotional, because Our job is to go and make sure these young ones don't give up on Daddy, as well as the older ones. And that we have our spirit renewed daily, sometimes hourly. You always hear me, so the Almighty always hears us. But I said it out loud for the sake of all these people standing here, so that they will believe you sent me. Then Jesus shouted, "Lazarus, come out." And the dead man came out. That sounds like a magician trick, y'all. Because there's no way that vessel should have sat up and come out of there. But the Almighty gave Christ the ability to speak life. So I'm praying that this particular message reaches everyone whom the Almighty designs it to reach. Not because of me, but because of how the Almighty can renew your spirit, as well as your bodies, your minds, and your lives. And the dead man came out, his hands and feet bound in grave's clothes, his face wrapped in headcloth. Jesus told them, "Unwrap him and let him go." Let me explain what he's showing me. Everybody knows what a mummy looks like, right? When it's prepared and it's actually laid into the tomb. This is why I say the sarcophagus that were removed from the American soil and placed elsewhere. And people don't like me saying this. Actually belong on the American soil. But the power that comes from it has been literally transferred to another place, which the Almighty is going to rectify that. Since that was something I had spoken about maybe like 12 years ago, Daddy says no, 14 years ago. I apologize. 14 years ago, I had actually stated that the Almighty was, and it's on a video. It's still on that particular platform. I have not removed it. As a matter of fact, I don't have access to that particular site that I had put that video on. Someone literally took the account from me and made it their own, which I'm really not tripping, but some kind of way they changed things. But back to the point. The point is this. About 14 years ago, I actually spoke about the sarcophagus being removed from the American soils and the power in which they removed it from this particular soil and put it somewhere else had allowed others to deem and glean a lot of power from it. However, that's going to be short-lived because a lot of people know that our artifacts here on this soil was removed and actually divvied out to other countries. And when I speak this, people say, well, I wouldn't speak that. Well, the difference is the Almighty has granted me this ability to see these things and speak about it. And those that know exactly what I'm talking about, no, I don't speak nothing that cannot be verified. Go look it up. Find out what year certain sarcophagus were removed and find out exactly where they're located. And then watch the environment around it. Some may be lively, some may not. You have to ask yourself why. And pray over it. Allow the Almighty to come and give you the answer. Remember, I'm supposed to be a crazy lady. I'm supposed to be off my rocker. I'm not supposed to be sane nor coherent, nor am I supposed to be viable to deliver any messages, only utilize for other people's purposes. That's what they say. But because of the Almighty and my trust and my faith in Him and Him moving these mustard seeds in my faith to move these beautiful mountains, to deliver His beautiful messages, to come get the hearts of His true heirs worldwide. Because every knee, every tribe that speaks, every tongue will be able to profess that the Almighty is very real. You guys do not give up on the Almighty. It may look like you've hit your lowest, but that's just Him testing to see if you will go and do something contrary to Him. You guys go over Lazarus Rises. See what you can glean out of these particular scriptures. John 11, 38 through 44. I was reading out of the New Living Translation. And for this young lady that I keep hearing in the spirit, the Almighty does hear your cry, sweetheart. Trust His timing is always better than any man's, any woman's, any child's. truly get to know who the Almighty is. He does love us the most. Have a great evening, grand rising, grand afternoon. And Nita, I love you as well. Enjoy the rest of your August 21st. It's a Thursday, you guys. A Thursday, 2025. I love you.